Hello, and welcome to BIA's Leading Local Insights podcast, where we examine trends, technologies, platforms, and industry activities related to local media revenue. I'm Nicole Ovadia, VP Forecasting and Analysis here at BIA, and I'm pleased to host this podcast today because we're going to talk about our updated U.S. local ad forecast for 2023 with a special focus on successful selling tactics in uncertain times. I'm joined by C. Lee Smith, who is CEO of SalesFuel, a company that specializes in sales strategies. Lee, I'm elated to have you here today. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
I think this is a really interesting topic for this podcast to take on. It's different than anything we've ever done in the past. My focus is on forecasting. My team and I look at macroeconomic trends, we talk to industry insiders, and we build and refine models that forecast local advertising revenue. Right now, what we're forecasting is uncertainty. Wall Street is nervous about interest rates. Main Street is worried about rising prices. Everyone is worried about the advertising market as we step into 2023. So today, instead of focusing on the numbers, we want to talk to an expert about how to sell in these uncertain times. So Lee, thank you for being our expert. Today, okay, let's take a first step. If I'm a radio or a television salesperson in today's world, I'm hearing we're in a recession. We might be in a recession. We don't know if it's a recession. So first and foremost, it's 2023. Welcome to January. What's the first thing I need to do to set myself up for success during these uncertain times?
Well, we want to prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. So over at SalesFuel, we do something very similar. We look at macroeconomic trends as well, but we do it from a different angle than you guys do it. So we're looking in terms of how can we make salespeople more credible on the street and when they're dealing every day with advertisers and marketers. And the thing that my team and I is like, we've not been through one recession, we've been through 4 recessions. And so for many media salespeople, many of which have only been in the job 1 or 2 years, for example, it's like this will be their first recession if we indeed have one, and that's not altogether a certainty. And the thing that has been the trend though in all past recessions recently has been relationships matter more than ever for salespeople whenever you're in an economic downturn. What that means is if you're a transactional salesperson, you're just taking orders and you're just placing whatever the advertiser tells you they want to do, you're going to struggle. And if you're a new salesperson who hasn't yet built up your business relationships, you're going to be at a disadvantage and you're going to struggle a little bit. So it is relationships that if you can go back to those and continue to keep people advertising at the level that they were advertising before, or maybe even grow that, it's going to be easier to do that than it is to try to land a new advertiser and get them to spend money with you that you've never done before.
Yeah.
So I would look at it this way, Nicole, is like focus on retention first. That's the very first thing you got to do is keep the clients you have and keep them on air, keep them advertising with you. And then sales credibility is absolutely paramount because patience is really low. So people are going to be, if they are going to be spending money wherever, they need to see an instant return on that investment because they've got people asking in their ears, asking them all kinds of questions, about why are you spending this money and, what are we getting out of it? So if you can show that to them, that's great. And to do that, you have to be perceived as knowing what you're talking about and knowing how to help them to generate revenue. And that's why with our AdMall platform, it's like you can be the local marketing expert in their line of business. And also you need to be thinking about, it's like, are they spending what they should, where they should? And that's where you use marketing research from BIA and AdMall to show them.
Really interesting. So one of the things you mentioned was retention and how important that is. And I'm finding a lot of people are coming to me and they're saying, yeah, I keep going back to the clients that have spent in the past and they're telling me, well, my sales are down, so I have to cut my ad budget. So what's the counter argument to that?
Well, that's a great question. And you always have to be prepared for that objection or those people that say you can't force the market or like that. The thing that's different about this economic downturn is that the market's there still. And so that makes some of these stats even a little bit more important. Like in SalesFuel's annual audience scan study that we do every year, 23% of U.S. adult shoppers think that stores that advertise are typically better than those who do not. And in a previous study, we asked the question in a different way and found that shoppers also thought that stores that used to advertise but suddenly stop advertising might be in trouble. That's not the signal that you want to be sending out to your customer base.
No, sir.
Half of brands that advertised marketing investment during the last recession saw return on investment growth in back-to-back years after the recession. And the things that we've learned and experienced is that, and also the research backs this up, is that you'll see more of these gains once we emerge from a recession or downturn than maybe you do during the downturn. The flip side is that, I've been looking at some new research that says if you stand pat or reduce spend, and a similar sized competitor decides to double their spend, you're at risk of losing 15% of your business, not just in the short term, but also in the long term. So it's really important then to stay on track. And even if you have to use co-op advertising funds then to help supplement your budget and everything like that, that's a great way for media salespeople then to be valuable then to advertisers and help them from cutting back.
Yeah, and I think what you said was really interesting in terms of people, if a client is telling you that their sales are down, you do need to look at the larger economy because there are a lot of strong pockets. And so if your client's sales are down and yet that sector is doing well, even more important for them to be advertising, of course. So there might be something there. And as the local marketing expert, you should be there to help them to identify why their sales are down. And, the blanket statement of, oh, it's the economy, that's not really insightful.
It's like they're not talking to you because they want to buy advertising or they need help with digital marketing services. They're talking to you because what they really want to buy are new customers. Right. So whatever way in which you can make that possible to them, you're going to be more valuable to them and also then further a nice relationship with them, especially in a downturn. As we've learned during the pandemic, for example, a lot of these tactics are very similar to what we've had to do, 2 years ago, for example. So, however you can make yourself the most valuable when the chips are down and the times are tough and everything like that, that's going to create some great relationships for you going forward.
Yeah, and you also mentioned helping them. And the messaging is really important. So are there better ways to advertise in a recession? Are there ways in which we can help our clients with their messaging? Or what makes somebody take action during these uncertain times, and how can we help make our advertising more efficient or effective, if you will, in these times?
That's a great question, Nicole. The first piece of advice I would give is to focus on organic, because these are the people that are already in the market, and also include the media that drive organic searches, things like linear TV, OTT, radio, digital, social. Those are the primary drivers of search engines and search engine results. So focus on that first. Of course, you have to then focus on omnichannel proposals. So that's where if you're selling linear TV, include the SEO, include the OTT, digital, include the SEO, digital video. If you're doing B2B, content marketing is really important. Mm-hmm. But, I've got some other thoughts there too. Advertise essential needs. Right, those never go out of style and everything like that. We also see when people cut back, maybe they're spending less on a luxury brand name and maybe coming down a little bit to an ordinary brand name or even a store brand for that matter. So you have to adapt and pivot then to what the market is telling you. You just can't stand pat and do. You can spend the same budget, but that doesn't mean that you spend it the same way and you advertise the same things. So you want to promote the durability and the serviceability of big ticket items because it's we need a little reassurance that should I really be spending this much money right now? Mm-hmm. Jeff Bezos, when he's telling you that you may want to think about not buying the big screen TV, well, first of all, I doubt that he's holding back on buying the big screen TV. But anyway,
I think he can afford it. He's okay.
I think maybe so. But that's where you focus on. It's this thing's going to last you for a while, or this thing can be serviced. It's not disposable. Buy now, pay later programs, financing options. You can advertise reconditioned, used, or consignment products. Definitely tie into manufacturer promotions because these are things the manufacturer's advertising anyway. You can piggyback off of that in your advertising and marketing. So those are just a few ideas that people have used successfully in past recessions.
I am seeing a lot of increased advertising in that I don't even know if I'd call it a subvertical, but that refurbishing of phones and things that used to or notoriously had short shelf lives and the promotion to refurbish, get a used one, something that we never would have thought of in the past. Of buying a used phone was not really something, but now it seems like Gen Z is really just embracing that, from the environmental purposes, reasons, for the cost reasons. But very interesting to see how that's going to evolve over time and change in the ways in which we buy electronics.
Yeah, you're very right about that.
Really interesting. So also, I've got a bunch of clients that keep telling me that they have plenty of business, but they can't find workers. So I've got especially in the restaurant sector, retail sector, they're like, yeah, I'd love to advertise, but I have as much business as I can handle right now, which sounds crazy, again, during these uncertain times. But really what they need help with is help with people. And so how can we, as marketing consultants, help our clients with these kinds of problems?
Yeah, well, I would say to those folks, you're not alone. I mean, our audience scan study that we've done, and we feature in the AdMall platform, 1/3 of American adults say that they want to switch jobs in the next 12 months.
Wow.
That's a lot. And unlike previous downturns, as you mentioned, the job market right now remains hot. I mean, it's like the number of new jobs being created is, as of January 2023, it is higher, I'm sure, than the feds would like to see it. But the other thing that we've noticed, and you've noticed this too, is that the amount of recruitment advertising that we see on linear TV, for example, I mean, it's considerably higher than we've seen just a few years ago. And so some of the things to keep in mind is our research shows that the top factors for people leaving one position, accepting a new position, is the number one thing is not the compensation package. Oddly enough, it's work-life balance. 60%, compensation package is 54%. And for those people that are in the job market, we call them better job seekers. An opportunity for professional growth and a better work environment also plays into the decision-making process. So there's the 4 things that you can really hone in on, when you're doing recruitment advertising and recruitment marketing. But definitely SEO makes a ton of sense, as well as being able to target the people then in the industries that you're going to want. And of course, we've got data that actually shows you that, based on job type or occupation type, what types of vehicles and media that they're influenced by.
I love that. I love the idea of the content of the message, even as we were just talking about how the content of your message needs to evolve in a recession. And even for recruiters, the content of the messaging it might be, we can help you with your education. Maybe you're not qualified for this job yet, but we can help you with that. Or, the work-life balance, or the other things that come along with joining whatever company is looking for more recruits, if you will. So that goes back to that content. The messaging during a downturn needs to be different than it is in your regular advertising.
We're seeing some businesses then that are no longer requiring college degrees for some positions, some mid-level positions. So you have that. You can actually get more candidates then of certain demographics then by, just by saying, hey, we don't need this pre-testing, but there's a risk involved in that.
Yep.
So, that the other thing about employers is like, they need butts in seats, but the worst thing that you can do is out of desperation is make a bad hire, because that's going to affect the rest of your team. So, the other thing that I would do there is like, well, you might be tempted then to kind of take shortcuts on the pre-hire testing and assessments and everything like that. It's a bad idea. It's like what you need is a good hire. You just don't need a hire.
Right. That is fair. That is very true. I mean, I'm also reading the statistics where we've got 2 open positions for every 1 person looking. And so, there's a lot of fear of, just get a warm body in here, but that's going to hurt you long term as opposed to the short term. Okay. So it's January. People are back at their desks. Here we are. We all had a wonderful holiday season, I hope. And now I'm ready to buckle down and get ready. Whatever 2023 is going to throw my way, I'm ready for it. So what do you think, Lee, is the most important thing that people need to remember? What's the one thing you want to make sure everybody listening to this podcast takes away and does in this upcoming year?
Well, I would say you got to be able to adapt and pivot, because it's like we don't know how things are going to change. But one thing that remains constant, though, you need to tell everyone not just externally, but also internally, is that you don't cut what makes you money. I mean, so now more than ever is like intelligence rules. So salespeople need to be armed with the research that BIA, AdMall, SalesFuel provides, because it enables the salesperson to be a credible source of information that helps advertisers make sense of all the options that they have, helps them take advantage of new opportunities in their industry, and just in general helps them make better decisions.
Amazing. Lee, thank you. That was extremely informative, and personally, I feel a little better now that we're in 2023 and I've got some tangible tactics to focus and rely on. And if you're out there listening as a BIA Advantage client, I urge you to go into Advantage soon and get your local market forecast. If you have questions, contact one of our client service people by emailing advantage@bia.com. And definitely, you absolutely need to head over to salesfuel.com in order to find more resources related to selling in a soft economy and so much more. Lee and his team are phenomenal, and you will learn a ton. So thank you so much for everybody who has joined us for this Leading Local Insights podcast today. If you have any thoughts about what we discussed today, or if you'd like to hear how BIA can help you with your planning for 2023, we'd welcome a chance to talk to you. Email us at info@bia.com. Thank you all, and have a wonderful day.